On your left.
Assemble.
Hello folks, Samsung's Galaxy S26 story reads like a late-night rewrite that actually made the script better. After months of rumor whiplash, names changing, models appearing and vanishing, launch dates wobbling, the dust is starting to settle. What emerges is a lineup that looks familiar on paper but feels newly ambitious where it counts: the screen, the silicon and the camera video pipeline. And for the first time in years, Samsung's top flagship isn't just catching up to Apple's benchmark dominance, it's poised to flip the narrative entirely. Let's unpack what's real, what's likely, and why the S26 Ultra in particular might be the most creator-friendly Galaxy yet. Samsung's S series has long been known for punchy AMOLEDs, but the S26 Ultra's panel is more than a typical year-over-year refresh. It's the first S Ultra slated to ship with Samsung's M14 OLED stack, a generational shift that promises richer color volume, higher full-screen brightness, and better power efficiency across the board. That alone would be a welcome bump. The headline, though, is the long overdue move to true 10-bit color. Why does 10-bit matter? An 8-bit panel can render approximately 7 million colors. A proper 10-bit panel expands that palette to more than a billion. In practical terms, this crushes the banding you sometimes see in skies, skin gradients, and soft bokeh transitions. It's the difference between nice and natural, especially in HDR workflows. If your daily routine is messaging, feed scrolling, and casual YouTube, you won't suddenly feel like you've walked into a color-graded cinema. A lot of everyday content is still produced in 8-bit, but when you hit HDR 10 streams, Dolby-graded masters, or view 10-bit photos video, the S26 Ultra's panel should show smoother tonal steps, more accurate saturation, and the color intent of the creator without the overcooked neon sign effect that sometimes sneaks into aggressive display profiles. Pair that with the expected COE circularly polarized optical layer, efficiency tweaks, and Samsung's latest privacy/anti-peaking layer, and you're looking at a screen that's not just brighter, it's more disciplined. Think less eye fatigue outdoors, fewer washouts at wide angles, and more headroom for pro-grade color pipelines. If you felt confused by the rumors, the S26 Plus canned Edge resurrected base model rebranded to Pro, then the Edge dropped because the S25 Edge allegedly underperformed. Join the club. The headline now is refreshingly boring. Samsung appears to be sticking with S26, S26 Plus, and S26 Ultra. That's the sensible call. You don't slap a Pro badge on a base device unless there's a clear leap in hardware or capability that justifies new expectations. This year, the foundation models look evolutionary, not revolutionary. Backing away from Pro avoids marketing inflation and clarifies the lineup for shoppers who just want to know which phone is small, which is bigger, and which is the kitchen sink flagship. There were whispers of a March unpacked to accommodate the last-minute reshuffles, but that feels like stretch territory. Could we see a brief slip versus the usual January window? Possibly. A multi-month delay, though, doesn't align with how finished the Ultra reportedly is versus the still tuning S26 and S26 Plus. Either way, the product cadence matters less than the product quality, and the Ultra's quality narrative is getting louder. Buried inside firmware chatter is a tale of two camera paths for the non-Ultra phones. One path reportedly mirrors last year's stack, familiar sensors, familiar results. The other swaps in a new 50 megapixels main, a 50 megapixels ultra-wide, a 12 megapixels 3x tele, and the same front camera as before. If Samsung ships the revised array, that's the most meaningful camera step up for the base and Plus models in ages. It doesn't have to match the Ultra's reach or low-light mastery to feel substantial, it just needs to move beyond the good enough again loop. Apple made headlines by bringing parity-ish cameras to non-Pro models in the iPhone 17 generation. If Samsung doesn't want to go full parity, at least moving the sensor suite forward keeps everyday shots cleaner, ultra-wide edges tidier, and 3x portraits more consistent. If it sticks to the older hardware, a slightly larger battery on the base S26 won't silence the same phone new name complaints. Here's where things get spicy. For years, Apple's A-series chips ran laps around Qualcomm in single-threaded speed and often inefficiency. That advantage made Apple's performance per watt talking point stick, even when Android flagships felt just as snappy in real life. Enter Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. Qualcomm's own data points to a 20% faster CPU with a 35% efficiency gain versus last gen, and an NPU that's 37% faster. Stitch those deltas together, and you're looking at roughly 16% better overall efficiency. Benchmark context matters, so let's talk it through. Qualcomm's reference device at launch reportedly posted single-core around 3,800 and multi-core near 12,400 in Geekbench. Apple's A19 Pro, think 3,800 single, 9,800 multi. That flips the usual script, parity or a whisker lead in single-core where iOS devices traditionally ruled, and a commanding lead in multi-core where Android chips often played catch-up. And Samsung's spin of this silicon tends to be a notch hotter. The S26 Ultra's bin is expected to be clocked higher, up to about 4.74 GHz on the prime core. On the GPU side, the gap widens further. Think of the S26 Ultra as the first Galaxy in years that can chase desktop-grade fidelity at steady frames without punting you into thermal slowdowns. For gamers, that means sustained high refresh rates. For creators, it means smoother previews and less waiting for renders and exports. The NPU's 37% bump isn't just about keyboard magic tricks. Imaging pipelines increasingly depend on neural acceleration, multi-frame noise reduction, semantic segmentation, local tone mapping, and per-object sharpening all hit the AI coprocessor. That's geek speak for shots processed faster, and the phone has the headroom to do smarter things live. Expect live HDR previews that more closely match the final capture. Expect low-light portraits with tighter edge detection. Expect astrophotography modes that stabilize and stack with fewer artifacts, and expect generative fill erase tools that feel less like parlor tricks and more like genuine time savers for social content. All of that is table stakes for flagship marketing in 2025. The difference this year is that the hardware ceiling is high enough to make those promises feel plausible without caveats. Here's the sleeper feature that could matter the most to serious shooters: APV Advanced Professional Video Support, the first time a mobile chip has enabled this codec end-to-end on a shipping phone. Think of APV as Samsung's answer to ProRes, near lossless visual quality with more efficient storage. ProRes earned its reputation for graceful motion cadence and edit-friendly files, but it's a storage hog. APV aims at the same class of quality while claiming roughly 20% better space efficiency. For mobile creators, that matters. It's the difference between taking a chance on a 4-minute continuous log take or pulling your punches for fear of filling the phone. APV's integration also unlocks the right kind of knobs: log profiles, LUT support, broader frame rate options, and tighter control in a revamped Pro Video mode. That's a workflow win. Shoot in LOG, monitor with a LUT, punch out APV files that grade cleanly on desktop, and keep your storage footprint sane. If Samsung nails thermal behavior, this could be the first Galaxy that puts sustained 4K/8K acquisition on truly equal footing with iPhone for fieldwork. Tie the APV news back to the M14 OLED's true 10-bit panel and you start to see a creator loop emerge. Capture in log 10-bit, preview your tonal latitude on a 10-bit screen with gentle roll-offs, and make on-set judgments that actually stick when you grade later. Less guessing, fewer retakes, and a higher hit rate when shooting in tough light. For mobile colorists, the promise is obvious. Gradient banding vanishes, skies hold, skin tones don't step, and highlight roll-off reads more organic on device. You won't ditch a calibrated monitor, but you might trust your phone preview in ways you didn't before. If Samsung follows through on the camera upgrades for the non-Ultra models, the whole S26 family gets better. If not, the Ultra will do a lot of heavy lifting as the flagship worth stretching for, especially if you shoot, grade, or game. Anyway guys, I will keep you updated. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.